All right. Welcome to the Ultra High Net Worth Clients Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Broadhead. Today's incredible guest is Dina Kaplan. Dina, can you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Yeah, hi Chris, and hi everyone. I'm really excited to be with you and to share and to hopefully stay in touch after. So, yes, my name is Dina Kaplan, and I've done a lot. I founded a tech company and ran that for a while. Actually, worked in politics for a while, worked in television, MTV News back when they were playing music, and that was the thing. And now that all drove me to meditation. So now I am founder and CEO of The Path. And we do a lot. I'm excited to share more, but it's a lot of stress in the world, a lot of anxiety, a lot of people whose thoughts circle around not podcast hosts, but everybody else thoughts that, run in circles a bit, self-rumination, we might call that. And we really help with that. I want to help people basically live with more joy and ease. And I'm on a big kindness push these days. So we run a meditation teacher training program, which is really poorly named because it just changes everyone's lives who goes through that program. I run a lot of retreats, work a lot with companies, Amazon, Microsoft, Comcast, McKinsey, and more, and do a lot of work one-on-one with people also to really, yeah, help people live with more ease and joy and delight.
Mhm. Wow. You have had quite the adventure. It sounds like
Yes,
multiple careers that
definitely.
you have gone down. That's amazing. Yeah, I can definitely relate to you know, finding meditation out of necessity.
Yes. I did it myself. There's definitely a story there that we can go into or not as you choose. But before running the path, and when I was running my tech startup, uh actually I don't know if I even mentioned that. I founded and ran a tech startup for a long time and I was having panic attacks constantly. Couldn't even walk
Mhm.
across the street by myself for 2 years while running a company and being in the press every day. So definitely if you feel that way, anyone out there that's listening or watching this, or you're even close to that, just know that there is a way to get on the other side of that.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Can you tell us how you discovered meditation and what impact it had on your life?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is a really kind of unbelievable story, but so you know, I do have a no lying vow that I teach and seek to abide by, except when I'm carrying an apple or an orange when I'm coming back from Europe and they ask me if I have any agricultural products with me. So that's the only time, once or twice a year. Other than that, seek to live with a no lying vow. So yeah, I was a mess when I was running my tech company. So I was one of very few female founders, certainly that anyone knew of in the country, in the US at the time. And that meant I had a lot of benefits. I was speaking 7 days a week at conferences all around the world, from the World Economic Forum to, just the biggest tech conferences in Europe, going to Asia. Certainly, if I were in New York, speaking literally 7 nights a week in the press every day. But yeah, I didn't tell anyone that I was having panic attacks, and it was really intense. If anyone doesn't know what that means, you kind of feel faint. I would feel tingles in my head, and they would shoot through my body, and I would think I was about to pass out in the middle of a street or an intersection or wherever I was, and it was terrifying. It was terrifying to be anywhere other than at my apartment or at work or at a hotel or wherever I was staying because I never knew when one of these was going to happen. So if you fast forward a long, long ways, I end up leaving the tech company mainly because I got this intuition when I was across the street from my office that when I knew I couldn't even make it across the street, a 13-second walk to my office in Lower Manhattan in New York City. And I got this intuition. You've got to live in the opposite part of the world and live in the opposite way, and you've got to act right away. And I'm glad that I listened to that because it probably saved my life or at least saved my health. So it's a bit of a longer story, but truncated. I basically met a nice looking guy from Northern Europe. I can't remember whether it was Sweden or Norway or Finland or somewhere like that, walking off a plane in India after I had left the company following that intuition, was traveling around the world. And we're walking off a plane in India. And he happened to just be behind me. I hadn't even spoken to him on the plane. And he said, we just started talking and he said, hey, do you want to go on a retreat with me? Like spontaneous like that. And I said, sure. So I'm picturing the Four Seasons in Bali with palm trees and lotus, leaves floating on a pond. And this ends up being a 12-day, gender segregated, I will say, 12-day silent Vipassana retreat with, I
Whoa.
didn't even know, no soap, no toilet paper, no air conditioning. And this was July, India, happened to be pre-monsoon that year. So it was, I mean, it was insanely hot. So it was the worst date anyone I think has ever been on. And it was quite a way to get introduced to meditation. They took everything away from us, phone, computer, business cards, notebooks, everything. We just had to meditate 10 hours a day, every day. We weren't even allowed to take walks or do yoga. And beginning on day 4, you had to sit perfectly still. You couldn't even move your neck. You couldn't move a finger. You just had to stay perfectly still. So an hour at a time, 10 hours a day. And that's how I learned to meditate. But I got a big, huge insight. I mean, you get huge insights on these retreats. And on day 8, it's again a longer story we could go into or not, but I got this insight that I was never going to have a panic attack again. This practice of meditation was going to save me, save my health, save the panic attack, save all the extreme anxiety that I had, and that it was going to be my life purpose to bring these techniques to other people, especially people with impact like you and your audience, and hope that no one suffers in the way that I did.
Mhm. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that is meditation
Yeah.
by fire hose.
Yeah, exactly. By brute force. Hey, you asked.
Wow. Um, I mean, had you meditated before that? Like,
Yeah, it's a
you
good
had
question.
any?
I had started with a great guy named Sasha Lewis, who now actually helps to run a beautiful hotel that serves as a retreat center. We had started something, I think we called it Zen Web or Zen something or other, Zen Web 2.0 back in the Web 2.0 days, where people would come to our office. I had founded or co-founded this company called Blip and was running it. And people would come to our office, or maybe 5 or 6 of us in the digital media world, and we would meditate. I wonder what we were doing because we had no idea what we were doing. I had tried meditation. I read a book by the Dalai Lama, but he said in this book, I think it was called How to Practice, to meditate on a rhinestone covered statue that you're supposed to picture of the first letter of your last name, covered, bedazzled basically out in a field. I mean, it was a little bit random, to be honest. So I didn't really know what I was doing. I had meditated a little bit. Then I started meditating. I'm like, oh, I want to be really feminine and lean into femininity. So I would picture the Venus de Milo painting, beautiful painting, by the way. I do love art. Having grown up in Italy, I know you're in Spain right now. So basically, I had no idea what I was doing. After you do one of these Vipassana retreats, oh, you really know how to meditate. You meditate 10 hours a day for 10 days straight, and you're really not allowed to do anything else. We would wash our clothes out because it was so insanely hot, and we would eat and try to sleep, and that was it. So after that, I definitely knew how to meditate.
Mhm. Wow. Did the idea for the path come to you during
Yeah.
that
Thank
retreat?
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're good. Now I see why you're hosting a podcast. Yeah, literally on day 8, I mean, I had this huge intuition that everything you start to do essentially, the leader was Goenka, and he says, beginning day 4, my mind was glass. I had just no thoughts. I could stare at whatever was in front of me, like a water bottle or a ponytail holder or whatever was in front of me, just for 8 hours straight, perfectly happy. And you realize during a retreat like this, when you've calmed all the noise in your mind down, that it's only our minds making us unhappy. I mean, if we're not in a war-torn area or not having enough money to eat or our basic needs met, if we're not in a dire situation like that, it's only our thoughts that make us unhappy. So if you clear the chatter down to a very low level or none, which I definitely got to by day 4, that would be 30 hours into meditating after 3 days. My mind was like glass, and you really start to do open heart surgery on your brain and on your personality, in essence. You start to see your patterns and you start to gain the power to shift them. So I saw on day 8 that I had this habit, this pattern since being bullied really badly as a little kid at summer camp, something I'd never thought about afterwards. basically made this vow to never be the reject again and to be popular for the rest of my life, which I
Mhm.
was. So I did that, figured out how to be pleasing and how to have people like me, but it was at the expense of ever saying what was on my mind. So, day 8, I realized, wow, I set this pattern, never realized that I actually could optimize my personality in a different direction, which would maybe be to just have the confidence for the first time ever to practice being me. And once I had that insight, yeah, it was like this flash of lightning shot up through me from my feet and exploded above my head. And this voice came to me, kind of like the voice at that intersection. It said, "You're going to come out of this retreat a better person. Everyone should have the chance to do this, but it doesn't need to be this hard. So when you're ready, you're going to go back to the United States. You will start a company to bring meditation to people with impact, because I was coming from the tech world and entertainment industry before that and politics before that. And yeah, this voice dropped in. It said, and you'll start a company, and the company will be called The Path. And it's funny, I opened my eyes. I'm surrounded by 199 people from India and the cute guy that I met on the plane from Norway or wherever, over in the boys area, the men's area. And I thought, how am I going to get that URL? But that was it. Yeah. So during that retreat, I got the inspiration to start The Path. And after that, I mean, I meditated for 10 or 12 days, but after that, I went all around the world for about 2 more years studying different types of meditation all over India, around Asia, Europe, just so I could learn more and have a larger breadth of knowledge and experience. And after traveling for another 2 years, studying meditation, practicing with different gurus, different traditions, when I figured out what I was going to do with the path, I finally figured it out one day. Actually, was floating in pools in Italy, and flew back to the US the very next day and started the path the following month.
Mhm. Yeah, that is a killer URL. Like right before you said that, I was like, man, how'd you get that? She was
Yeah.
like, and I had to figure out how I was going to get it. How'd you get it?
Oh, that's a funny story because you're in Barcelona right now. I spent a
Yeah.
year working on getting that URL. It was actually owned by monks. So for people that don't know, you
Oh,
probably
wow.
think that the path is spiritual, but the Buddha, after being, who was a regular guy, I mean, he grew up very wealthy, but he did not grow up super spiritual, but he was a regular guy, wanted to, that's a longer story, obviously, but wanted to understand the truth of suffering, ended up escaping the palace where his father had kept him pretty insulated, and one day seeing someone that was sick, and one day seeing someone that was dying, one day seeing someone that actually was dead, and decided essentially to leave. He had a wife and a kid even, to kind of escape from the palace, leave his whole family behind, and understand the truth of suffering. So he sat under this Bodhi. Well, first he lived with aesthetics, like almost not eating, sleeping on the floor, and that didn't really help because he was exhausted and hungry. So he ended up leaving the aesthetics, sitting under, and decided to sit under this Bodhi tree and not stop meditating until he understood the truth of suffering and how to get away from that. And when he finally had that realization after logging a lot of hours of meditation, also, he figured it out. He gave this talk called The Four Noble Truths. And essentially, the fourth noble truth is that we can escape from suffering. And the way to escape from suffering is the path. And it's also known as the Eightfold Path. And there are 8 steps to move away from suffering or dissatisfaction towards joy and happiness and freedom. And those 8 steps are called the path. And I named my company for that. So I knew that was the name that I wanted. And I spent a year trying to get it. In the end, a friend who lives not too far from you in Lisbon, Portugal, Andrew, said, I mean, this is after a year of really working on it. He said, I can get you that URL. And so these monks owned it. And we said, we'll give you $15,000 today. And every week that you don't say yes, that offer is going to go down by $1,000. So I think 2 days before it was going to go down to 14,000, they said, we're in. And I got the URL. So that was exciting. And I had done the same thing
Wow.
for my last company. I actually got blip.com a few years into running that company. It was blip.tv, and we really wanted the .com, and I got that in a similar way. So you can be Buddhist and still and be clever.
No.
No, the Buddha was clever. We can be clever.
Yeah. Wow. That's incredible. So tell me like the mission and like how the path.com, how your company works. what it
Thank
does.
you. Yeah, so the mission is really to give people the tools for a daily meditation practice, to give people the inspiration to meditate each day because it really is a practice. You can't do it once and like I couldn't even just go on that retreat meditating 10 hours a day for about 12 days and then you're done. My brain definitely changed during that retreat. I literally moved through the world in a different way, but it's a practice. So I want to give people the tools for a daily meditation practice, the inspiration, and then bring people into a community of meditators. And I do notice, meditation is a lot bigger now than when I started the path 10 and a half years ago. But a lot of people are just meditating on their own, which obviously is great. And ultimately, you're doing it on your own, even if you're in a group. But once you start meditating, your brain changes. You're more aware. And we can talk about mindful conversations, which is a huge, huge passion of mine because a lot of people, maybe your audience can relate to this. Let's say you take a trip. You're like, oh, I went to Mexico. And many people, rather than saying, oh, where did you go? What was it like? Where did you stay? How were the meals? They'll say, oh, I went to Mexico once. And then it's off onto their story. So you as a meditator start to become more aware and your brain starts to ruminate less about yourself and you're just more aware and more open. And so meditators want to be around other meditators. So I love bringing people into a community of meditators. Yeah, so we do that on retreat through beautiful, beautiful, beautiful courses. And I do a lot of meetups, even did one last night. Yeah, bringing people into a group of like-minded souls. We might all look really different, so different genders and backgrounds and races and ages, but we're all on this path together. So even if we're not kind at every moment, because as humans, we are wired imperfectly, we're trying to be kind. So let's say we do something that doesn't land well, we'll apologize and move on and just try to live with awareness and kindness and a little bit of an inner joy that I think if you're not meditating in 2025, it's harder to have that.
Mhm. Yeah, I pretty much, I don't want to say I have to, but my day is much, much better if it starts with meditation. And um, even journaling and now that ChatGPT is kind of dug into my life, I can dump all my thoughts on that. It can help me make sense and come up with some journaling prompts or mantras or anything like that. My question for you, most of our listeners are entrepreneurs, business owners,
Yeah.
founders, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Um, I'm so surprised when I meet someone they're like, yeah, I don't really meditate. I'm like, do you just like go crazy all the time? Like, do you have any impactful, low-hanging fruit meditations that my audience who maybe have not developed recurring meditation that might help them, see some benefits?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a very easy practice to begin, especially on the Buddhist path. There are other techniques that require you have to meditate. You have to do 20 minutes a day, twice a day, or just different requirements. I'm happy to gift. We have a beautiful intro course that is definitely low-hanging fruit. So I'm happy to gift that to your audience. I can give you the
Mhm.
info. That's at thepath.com/intro, and I can just set up a code for anyone in your audience so they can do that. Or you can just sit comfortably in a chair, on a couch, on the ground. Maybe if you're on the ground, use a cushion or a pillow, or maybe put some towels on each other just so your hips are a little bit elevated from your feet. And I would say just sit with your back straight, top of the head facing up to the ceiling. John Kabat-Zinn, wonderful teacher of Buddhist mindfulness meditation, says to sit with dignity. So you can think about that. And your eyes can be open with a soft gaze or closed. And we can even just do it for 10 seconds right now. Just focus on the natural breath, the normal breath, as my original teacher, Gwenko, would say. And really focusing your mind, it's all an exercise of the mind, on the feeling of the sensation of the inhale. And then focus on the feeling, vidana is the word in the Pali, of the sensations of the exhale. Maybe you notice the warmth of the exhale if you contrast that with probably the cooler sensations of the inhale. Maybe the inhale feels a little more rushed, a little more urgent than the warm, gentle flow out of the exhale. And when a thought comes to mind, which will happen with you and everyone meditating around the world and every teacher and even the Dalai Lama, just the choice and the freedom is to let that thought float away like a cloud or sail away like a small child sailboat on a pond. And just choose to carve out some freedom there and bring your attention and your awareness back to the breath. Just always choosing, as the great teacher Sharon Salzberg would say, just to return, returning your attention back to the breath. And so that's just a very simple practice that is related, quite similar to what we did for 30 hours on the first 3 days of that retreat I did in India. And so even if you do that for 1 minute, it will begin to change your day. And the very latest neuroscience, since I just interviewed Richie Davidson from the University of Wisconsin, probably the most well-known neuroscientist studying the impact of meditation and mindfulness, especially on the brain and the body. The very latest research they believe is that if you do 8 or 9 minutes of that a day, your brain will change after 2 months, which is incredible.
Wow, that's amazing. That was cool. That was the first guided meditation we've had on the podcast. So thank
I
you.
want to get paid extra. I want double, Chris.
You got it. Double times zero. Ah, shoot, still zero. But we'll call
40
it double.
Bitcoin, 40 Bitcoin right here.
There you go. Yes, exactly. Um, so we're slightly over. Is it okay if we go a couple minutes over?
No, it's not
time?
okay.
Okay. All right.
No,
And
I'm just
over.
joking. Yes, I'm here. I'm here. Part of the Buddhist path, I actually tell this to my teacher training students all the time. I actually had to text one of them yesterday to say, you have to be kind. If you're not, you go on this path and you're meditating, and you're, especially if I'm training someone as a meditation guide, if you're doing all of this and you're not kind, it's kind of worthless. So I have to be kind. And if I'm not, I need to apologize. So I was just joking, happy to go stay on for a little bit longer. As the Dalai Lama would
Yes.
say, my religion is kindness.
Yes.
I tell in the class, I'm giving away all my secrets here, but I say in the class, I think even on class one, I always say, I think kindness is fierce right now. I think it's revolutionary. Being angry is easy. The brain will get angry. That is no kudos to anyone for getting angry, but being kind is a choice. That's fierce.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. I subscribe to that wholeheartedly. So, it seems that everyone is realizing the sort of triggers they have and the instant reaction they have. They're like, oh, I thought that guy was just a jerk. That's why I did that. But it's like it's a trigger caused by an unresolved childhood trauma, perhaps.
Yeah.
What is your perception on the relationship between meditation and trauma?
Yeah, well, that's a big question, and it's actually a really important question. I had to basically get a crash PhD in trauma-informed mindfulness during COVID because I hadn't been trained in that, quite frankly, and there was a lot of big T and small t trauma that was coming up for the students that we were teaching 2020, definitely by 2021. And really the practices of meditation and the way that we teach has shifted. It used to be, in fact, including on that retreat that I went on in India, and those type of Vipassana retreats are taught all over the world and they're free for anyone that's interested. It's at dhamma.org, but it's not trauma informed. And I've probably, if I got a commission on that, they're free. But if I'd gotten a commission on that, I'd be a wealthy woman because I think I sent probably 260 people to those in the years after I started going to them. I did another one right after that first one, which is, by the way, more than anyone should know about their personality. But they're not trauma informed, and so I actually don't recommend them anymore unless someone is a very serious meditator. So to answer your question in a couple of different ways, if you're guiding or if you're meditating and something comes up that's very difficult to deal with, that is outside of what we would call your window of tolerance. Your window of tolerance is what you can tolerate. Some very tough things came up for me on that first retreat and on the second one as well. But I think my gut, my instinct knew that I was within my window of tolerance. So I just stayed through, and I'm a startup founder too. So I can grit through a lot. So I stayed through and gritted through some very tough times. But if something comes up that your gut tells you is outside your window of tolerance, we no longer believe you should just power through. If your eyes are closed, open your eyes. If you want to stand up, stand up. If you want to dance, walk, move, shake, dance, do that. Follow your intuition. If you just want to stop meditating, that moment or that day, that week, or that year, just stop. Stay within your window of tolerance. So, that, and there's some other trauma tools that I could share also. I actually led a retreat soon after October 7th for the survivors of the Nova Festival. And that was, I mean, an incredible privilege to be with those young people who've been through horrors that no one should ever face. But another technique that I gave to them is to just be aware that you have this internal something going on, emotional things coming up or thoughts, and then find something in your environment that's real. You call it an anchor. So you can anchor your attention. I have flowers. And believe it or not, I just gave a little money to a charity that one of our retreat guests is involved in. So I got a little teddy bear. So a little teddy bear in front of me. So
Oh,
with whatever you have in front of you, flower, teddy bear, water bottle, or whatever. So you can anchor your attention to that, something that's real, and then know that what's going on in your mind is a bit of an imagination. It might be tough, and that toughness is real, but that's not a real thing. And so you can have anchor your attention to something in your environment or have what's called dual awareness, where you're aware of your what's going on internally, but also aware that, you have a water bottle in front of you and you have a real physical environment that's around you and you're safe now. So those are some of the trauma tools that I shared with the Nova survivors that I'm happy to share with your audience. But in terms of what you're really asking, which I think is, what do you do if you know that you're in a moment of not having freedom? I call them freedom moments, when you have, let's say, something that's tough that happens to you, and for me, as a longtime meditator, now that moment just freezes. It's almost like I'm watching a scene in a play and it stops. The director says, cut. Or if you're on a theater set, they're saying, stop or whatever. And then I have freedom, unless I'm with my family. Parents, spouses not included. Freedom to respond negatively if someone's being negative to you. There's no being a doormat as a Buddhist. You can be mean when that's the right thing to do, or just shrug your shoulders and move on, kind of in the middle, or choosing to be kind for no reason. Let's say I had someone smash into me in downtown Manhattan a few years ago. And rather than, turning around to yell profanities at them, I actually just decided to ask, are you having a hard day? And can I give you a hug? And I gave this person, the stranger, a hug. There was actually a bystander there going, oh my God, what's going on? And we both cried. And it was this beautiful moment. I said, I hope your day gets
wow.
better. And it's kind of like, why not? So, anyway, if you find yourself not having that freedom, take a moment. And I think what you can do is just shift your attention from the mind, that kind of imaginary dream world that a lot of us live in, shift your attention to your feet or anything that's physical. It could even be in your fingertips. You can maybe, put your thumb, tap it to any of your fingers, or just shift your attention and awareness into your feet. Feel your feet in your shoes, or feel the feeling of the ground underneath your shoes. And kind of like an inquiry, like, what do I want to do here? Can I carve out some freedom so that I can choose my response? So those are a few techniques for how to handle that.
Awesome. Awesome. Cool. Thank you for sharing that. We are well over our allotted time, so I have one final question for you. It is an open-ended question, and I appreciate you going long. I wasn't saying that like it's a bad thing. I was acknowledging your flexibility. My final question for you, open-ended question. You can take it in any direction that you like. That question is, what are you working towards?
Mm. Nice. So I am. we just started a new meditation teacher training course. By the way, for anyone in your audience that's interested, I mean, we have presidents of public companies take this. We had the founder of Casper, the mattress company. So whether you're running a startup or you're just a parent that wants to teach meditation, maybe to your kids, or you just want to guide someone in your community, it's a really beautiful program. So we'll probably launch a new one in the fall. So let me know if you're interested. It's thepath.com/teacher. You can just email sit at thepath.com, or you can find me, Dina, at thepath.com, or find me on Instagram at Dina Kaplan. But I am doing a lot more work with companies, which has been really, really beautiful, really impactful. So it's been really exciting to work with Microsoft and Amazon in the last few months. So doing that, but really I'm going to be writing more. I'm a huge believer in finding kindness, finding ways to give people the benefit of the doubt, finding ways to, yeah, live with more joy and delight and ease. So I think it's time to I've obviously reached, I don't want to say obviously, but I've reached a lot of people through the path, but I think I'm ready to reach even more people with these messages through writing. So I'm excited for that. I'm a huge believer in wanting people to be more mindful in conversation. I feel like there's this thing that I would label with a little bit of lightness as conversational narcissism, where people turn conversations back to themselves a lot, kind of in the example that I had given. And I really want to share these ideas of inviting people to ask follow-up questions, to be curious as you are, to be cultivate this ability to be interested as much as interesting. So I'm excited to share more of that through writing.
Mhm. Awesome. Awesome. That's
Oh,
great.
and
And where can my
we're going to announce a retreat soon. So you can,
oh,
the path is at thepath.com. So gathering people too and making friendships to change people's lives.
awesome. Awesome. And where can my audience find out more about you and
Yeah,
everything you're
so
working on?
our website is thepath.com. You can always just reach out at sit. Sit is another word for meditate. So SIT at thepath.com, or just find me, Dina at thepath.com, or I am either great or terrible at Instagram. I'll have, days or weeks when I'm really active and times when I'm not. Part of the practice is not being on your phone all the time, but I'll put big things up there. So follow me at Dina Kaplan, DinaKaplan. And I really do want to help people. It's that's my mission and purpose. So if anyone has any questions on starting a meditation practice, or even just about how to find more kindness through daily life, please reach out and I'd love to be helpful.
Mhm. Awesome. Awesome. We'll be sure to link all that in the show notes. Dina, thank you so much for taking the time. Really, really
Yes.
enjoyed getting to know you better. And I'm just, very, very impressed with how much you've accomplished in such a short time and
Thank you.
just getting through that 12-day sitting meditation. That
Oh,
sounds like just about the hardest thing that a human could do.
oh, it was beyond. It was beyond. I mean, I didn't
So
mention the
I'm impressed.
feces that were covering our windowsills. It was disgusting. Yeah.
Oh,
Maybe
all right.
not where I'd recommend your audience start, but that's one way to learn meditation.
Hey, and you did it. So yeah, really appreciate your time. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
All right. And to all our listeners out there, thank you so much for tuning in. Keep on growing and keep on meditating out there, everybody. See ya.